Hello, hello, Athletics LLC land. I was trying to think of the little people.
The little people. That's how we.
The
Oh,
Wizard of Oz. The
Oompa,
Munchkins.
the Oompa Loompas or the Munchkins?
No, the
Jeez.
Munchkins. I was trying to think of the song that they sing. Sorry. Anyways, nonetheless, Athletics LLC. We're back. We're here. Another great week. Thriving, more than surviving. You know, do the deal. It's recruiting season, so we're all in it.
Am I allowed to say take that, take that, take that? Or is that
Oh,
banned now?
not at all. Ever
Is,
again.
is that banned now?
So
Okay.
it's
It's
banned. And what's
definitely banned.
funny, it's funny. Last week I said it. I don't think anybody caught it, but someone caught it and commented on it in the video. So it's very funny. Anyhow,
Did we get 784 responses?
no, but some funny ones. Is there a number? Is there a significance 784?
If you don't get these topics off
Boy.
and get him up out of here,
Okay.
you don't want an
So-
answer to any of these questions.
No, we're just gonna dive. So
That didn't help at all.
I know that one
That
was
didn't
mine.
help
That
at
was
all.
mine. That was mine. So inaugural weekend for Gabby's weekend. Gabby's baby. Athlos.
Jesus Christ.
What? The ADD is strong today. Sorry. It's been a day. But in New York this weekend, Gabby's premiering her track league, Athlos. Am I saying that right? Athlos.
Athlos, yes.
A meet.
Athlos. A meet.
Not a league, and definitely not a pregnancy. Just a meet.
I mean,
Whoa.
a meet. I'm sorry. Well, I'm calling it her league because I'm gonna believe that there's gonna be more than this. I don't think there's.
It's called Athlos NYC.
Yes, and
is Diddy one of the sponsors?
Sweet.
Stop.
Please.
I just asked. I mean, I just asked.
No, he is not.
Okay, that's all I needed was,
I'm
sponsored by Johnson and Johnson.
clicking on the website right now, and we are looking at some really great things about her media, her ability to promote and make it just a thing. It's attractive to look at.
Yeah, let me make my shock face. Gabby did something awesome in track.
So, that Icon Stadium. There's a lot of great things. Athlos.com, Athlos, ATHLOS.com. What
They're
are you all
making some
thinking about
changes
it?
to Icon. I saw.
Thank God.
Yeah, I think they're updating the stadium for Gabby's meet, which is awesome.
That's definitely necessary to be done. And one of the things I was concerned about, knowing that the meet was going to be held there, was going to be the visuals, because the visuals are always lame when meets are there. Well, that's good. I'm excited to see what it looks like on television. We talked about this when it was a concept. We were all excited about the meet. Obviously, it has fallen post Olympics, and we all understand why that would be. So, it's like the Diamond Leagues post Olympics. It's not important in the sense of the results, but for me, unlike the Diamond Leagues, this one is kind of important because it's a totally different model. It's Gabby and an athlete in our sport, a predominant one, linking with business interests to promote a women's only competition and pay significantly more prize money for those who will be competing than the Diamond Leagues are. So, it could be the start of something awesome. I think we're all rooting for it to go off well. I haven't seen the lineups of every race, but I've seen the highlighted people that they are, touting for showing up, and it seems interesting, if nothing else.
So enter not the governor of New York. I don't.
Speaking of,
I don't know if you saw the late breaking news.
Yes.
Listen, New York City the political landscape. See, I'm being good. I'm being good. The political landscape of my birth city, of my former home city, right now is as bad as it's been since the mob got to New York. Right? Like
Let's put it
we
this way.
got so many people embroiled in so many bad things in New York City right now.
I mean, I know we're going off on a tangent.
Yeah, can we not go that way? Can we not go left right now?
Anyway,
I have a question though. Like, it's interesting. No, this isn't about that, right? I found it interesting. A couple things about this meet and this concept, and I really mean the word interesting. One, does anybody else find it interesting that these athletes have been able to come up with sponsorships that are pretty substantial, but we always hear from USATF like how that's impossible? Like, it's impossible to sell the sport of track and field in this country. But Paul Doyle got, multiple meets on ESPN. Gabby's got a meet that's paying a bunch of money, right? And over multiple years. Gabby's got a meet that's paying a bunch of money. Michael Johnson's got a whole ass league, right? Yeah. Like, I don't know. And I think the reason why it's disheartening for me to some degree is, like, I know these things are going to be successful. Yes. So like, all the things we've always said, we know are now true. That, like, these sponsorships have been out there.
Yeah.
Well,
all we needed was somebody, beating the right drum, saying the right things, talking to the right people.
I have a contrarian voice to that. And maybe that's not even the right word, but in my automatic response and observation of what you're saying and who you're saying it against in regards to USATF, in my eyes, is looking to cover a bigger umbrella than what a meet that Gabby's putting on is, a meet that Paul Doyle is putting on is, versus like a whole body. Do you get what I'm trying to say?
Well, I do, but it doesn't make any sense because you still sell. If you have something you're trying to sell and you're trying to sell it as a whole, and you can't get what you want, you do exactly what is going on. You sell off pieces of it that still make a ton of money.
Mm-hmm. But would those small pieces then offend the other bigger pieces? If I can sell the sprinters, but the throwers don't get the love, and then I can sell the throwers, but then the jumpers don't get the love, and then the distance people are still feeling like redheaded stepchildren. Like,
this goes back to
everything in life has a hierarchy to it. You have to get over it,
and not just
but
that.
People, but our people don't get over it. Our professionals think that they deserve everything that the professionals get. So the hierarchy still isn't even like.
Hey, the quarterbacks are more valuable than the kickers. It is what it is.
And I don't think that moves the needle at all from the standpoint of what the fans want to see and what is actually going to be a viable model for any of these pilot programs, if you will. Let me so 100 hurdles, Masai Russell, Alacia Johnson, Danielle Williams, Charisma Taylor, Jasmine Camacho Quinn, Tania Marshall.
That's in the Athlos meet?
Yep. 100 meters, Zoe Hobbs, Brittany Brown, Celera Barnes, Candace Hill, Marie Jose Talu, Daryl Nita. 200, Gabby Thomas, Jenna Prandini, Brittany Brown, Anavia Battle, Tori Lewis, Tamara Clark. 400, Lee Claver, Paulino, Alexis Holmes, Lena Irby Jackson, Salwa Nasser, Shamir Little. That's.
I mean, the 400 field is ridiculous.
Huh? Yeah.
The 400 field is ridiculous.
I mean, the winner gets 60K. You're going to show up when the winner going to get 60K.
Yep. 800, Natoya Gould, Halima Nakai, Nia Akins, Dugoma, Mary Moraa, Addie Wiley. And then 1500 is Faith Kipyegon, Katie Snowden, Gudaf Segay.
I mean, you can stop. You
Yeah.
you got faith in Segay. Like
Yes.
no disrespect. I swear to God, no disrespect to anybody else he was about to name. If you got faith and you got Segay, like what
It's a race.
everybody else is in the race to fill out lanes.
Right.
Right. You got
Right.
the centerpiece, you got the show, and it just goes to show you that it just isn't as hard as the folks at USATF have been trying to pee on our head and tell us it's raining for a long time.
But
Yeah.
it's not
Right?
just
Like
USATF.
no, it's not because globally
field,
it's the
period.
same. Track and field in general, world athletics is honestly world athletics is worse because they lost an NBC Peacock sponsorship for pennies on the dollar to go to be behind a paywall. So like for sure, I'm not just taking shots at USATF.
I mean that story on how that the Diamond League has now changed hands is going to be one to be studied for years and years and years. I mean, to just pass off the responsibility of finding an entity that's willing to televise these meets, and here's the amount of money that we need from as far as world athletics is concerned, and just go find whoever will pay it. And it's not, and there's no thought given to, wow, well, maybe a billion dollar company would do a better job, just maybe. And yeah, I mean, I am not looking forward to next summer. I'm gonna tell you that right now. I really am not.
I said this earlier today to someone. We have one of the best shows in the world, but we are not being promoted by PT Barnum. We are being promoted by, some guy trying to sell CDs out of his trunk with the flyer guy. Like, it's just insane. It's just insane. But the other thing I was going to say about Gabby's meet that I think is also very interesting is that it's in New York and not in Boston.
Or Texas.
Well, she's from Boston, though.
No one's. She's from Atlanta. Let's be clear.
Where did she go to high school?
Massachusetts.
Okay, so I'm not crazy. I got what you're saying, but
Yeah,
I know. I thought she went to high school in Massachusetts, and I think in a suburb of Boston. But yeah, it's very interesting that the meet's in New York, right? And I think in a good way, right? Like this further proves our point. We've all done track and field in this country at multiple levels and multiple places, and I think every single one of us, when asked where would be the hardest place to put on a track meet in the United States, I think we would all, in 1.1 seconds, chime New York.
sure.
It's the hardest place in our country to put on a track meet. It's the most expensive to fly into and out of. It's the hardest to do hotel deals. There's not a track in quote unquote mainland Manhattan, right? Like all of it's difficult. Yet here we are.
No, so here's I get where you're going with that, and I'm genuinely asking this question because I can't discern this from the website. Is this meet on television?
I don't know. I feel like you. Like I've been looking to see if I can find it so that I can be prepared to record it. I cannot discern whether it is on television either. I am for sure that it's going to be streamed somehow.
Yes, we would. Well, so a quick glance at the website, it doesn't seem that it's on television, and I can't figure out where to watch it stream wise. What we know is that the purses are awesome. The names of the athletes are world class. And Meg Thee Stallion's giving us a performance.
To it. You beat
So
me to it.
I feel like, I shouldn't have to buy a ticket to witness this.
Right.
But if there's no TV and then there's no streaming, I think that would be a miss. I mean,
That'd be a huge miss.
You know what I mean?
Watch live on Athlos's X on their
Live on Twitter.
On Twitter, you can watch it on YouTube.
Okay.
You can watch it on ESPN Plus.
No.
Oh, well, there you go.
And you can watch it on DAZN online.
Does anybody else on this show feel like the governor has a different internet portal than the rest of us?
100%. Listen, we've all known that for a very long time, as all government agencies do.
I mean, I definitely feel like he has, if I want to know what's going on in the dark web, I think that he is the person I would ask, because I don't know anybody else with these kind of connections yet. You always seem to have the answers. I could ask you anyway, that was awesome. Thank you, sir. We're busy talking about, we can't find it. I've looked multiple times. Oh, and here's the answer. Shut your mouth.
Oh, I didn't listen. I admitted it was a lazy look, but it wasn't clear.
Listen, I'm not even going to say it was a good, bad, or ugly look. I looked, is my point. I looked, better than my 12-year-old. And, and for the number of places he just said it says that you can watch it, it should have been obvious.
Yeah.
But it's not obvious on us normal people's webs. On, www.darkweb./KST the governor. Clearly, you can find these things.
It starts at 6:30 our time, 7:30 Eastern. 4:30.
On what day?
Tomorrow.
Okay, it is tomorrow. For some reason, I was like, I think it's tomorrow. 6:30. Okay.
Yep.
And as discussed pre-show, I have found the merch. I will definitely be getting myself a women's track groupie T-shirt. I'm cool with that.
I don't think that would go over well for me, so I'll have to figure out something else.
I'm getting that one for sure.
What's next, Chu?
So I lost it. There it is. Oh, that's why I lost it, because it's college football. College football is junk. Who likes college football?
I mean, Texans usually,
not this frog. This frog is
not frogs.
Wallowing.
Frogs are frogs got
wallowing.
Issues. Frogs getting stampeded by ponies.
I can't tell you. So where were we today? Oh, we were doing media day, and we were up high enough to where we could see their practice field. I said, "Why are we practicing for?" We can't rehearse right now.
You're practicing to try to make it to the final 12, Chewy.
Oh boy.
I guess. I mean, you guys can talk about football. I don't want
to. Okay, so wait a minute. I seem to remember in previous years of LLC.
Oh, all the trash that I used to talk. Yeah.
No, not just that, but the idea of playoff expansion was poo-pooed a few times around here by people. How are we feeling now that it has actually arrived? Are we excited about a legitimate playoff? Yes, sir.
I'll say the same thing now as I said before. 12 makes no sense. That's what I said the first day we ever talked about this. You can go back and check the tape. 12 makes no sense.
What number, remind me, did you prefer, or were you completely against expansion of any kind?
I have always been for expansion. 8 was the only. 16 makes the most sense, but I understand why that's not possible. It's too many games.
Right.
So 8 was the number that I've always settled on. 8 gets you to 4, 4 gets you to 2, and Bob's your uncle. 12 makes no sense.
12 is simple. The first.
I know, but nobody deserves a bye. That's my point. Nobody deserves a bye. It's college football. We don't have these 4 special teams because that means somebody has deemed those 4 special. If we have a playoff, then have a playoff. 8. End of story.
I understand.
But we have to go to 12 because we can't go to 16 because that's untenable. And 12 allows us to still have our own shenanigans, right? We've managed to get rid of a Power 5 conference, so now we only have to have four Power 4 real buys, right? And then the highest ranking 5th conference, right? Blah 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 blah. I understand all the shenanigans of how it goes. It's 8.
It's the top 5 ranked champions are automatically in, and then yes,
I guess that's how it's the way it is worded, because it originally was the 5 Power 5 conference.
correct.
Now it
it's
is
right.
the 4 Power 4 conference champions. Yes,
It's not. It doesn't say that. It says the 5 highest ranked champions. Now we all know that will be the Power 4 champions plus whomever, but that's
Power
not
4 champions plus the Mountain West champion.
Maybe, but in theory, if somehow the Mountain West champ and the American champ were somehow ranked higher than the ACC champ, then in theory the ACC champ would be out. But we all know that's not.
No, I smell a segue. I smell a segue.
Oh, you know.
The funniest part of all this, right, is
you guys seen the UNLV news, right?
Oh, we're getting to that for sure. so with this nonsense of 12, right? Who is almost guaranteed to be number 6 every time? Come on, this is an easy one.
The SEC loser?
Notre Dame.
Oh, Notre Dame got issues right now. They lost to NIU.
Notre Dame, the 6th spot is literally somewhere on a dry erase board. It is literally listed as the Notre Dame spot.
Right there.
Notre Dame will fall into the top 12 or oh boy will be fired.
Absolutely.
Notre Dame is going to be the 6th spot. Watch what I tell you. Even with their 1 loss to Northern Illinois.
They're going to lose again. But
to who?
I mean, they lost Northern Illinois.
I mean, listen, they lost. Northern Illinois was a trap game. They should never lose to them, but it was a trap game. They lost to Northern Illinois because they were still busy being high off the champagne they were drinking after the road win.
Hey, so you're not excited about the 12.
It's hard. Listen, I'm excited about a playoff. The numbers are semantics, right? Like, you have one chance to get it right. Of course, I'm not expecting them to get it right. They're always going to get it wrong, but you have a playoff. We have a playoff. And now we have more games that in theory are more interesting, that are going to have more clicks, but all of them mean less than they used to.
Mm-hmm.
Now, see that's interesting. I see how you get there. I've always been against the idea that a somewhat legitimate playoff makes the regular season less important. Because of the way it's written, the regular season seems just as important as it's ever been, because you get an automatic pass to the dance if you win your championship, which I've always advocated. If you're a champion, you should get in. So my numbers are a lot bigger than, the 12 or whatever. I don't know how many conferences there actually are in quote unquote Division I, but if you told me that the playoff was straight up win your championship and you're in and everybody else is out, oh, I'm here for that. That would be awesome. That would be so awesome. Yes, but I know.
And you and I both know ESPN
would never allow such a thing. Yes,
no chance.
No chance. So when the dust settles, we're going to get our 5 champions. And then the funny thing about the new reality is we're going to get our 5 champions, and then we're going to get our evenly divided split between the Big Ten and the SEC to fill in the rest of the gaps. That's what you're going to get.
That's right.
That's exactly what you get.
So,
yes.
Did you see the news on the UNLV QB, Clyde?
I did. I found it. Listen, UNLV's been making a lot of noise this past 2 weeks for various reasons.
And so have we. Like,
yeah.
Hey.
No, I found it hilarious.
Yeah. I mean,
they're going to quit messing with these kids. That's all I'm going to say. Because they keep thinking that these kids are dumb, and these kids are smart.
Yeah. Well, he came from Holy Cross. Now, Holy Cross is not a podunk school, is it?
No.
I don't think. So he's a fifth-year senior, and according to him, his statement and his representative, he went to UNLV under the guise that there was $100,000 NIL
Yep.
Okay.
out waiting for him,
That's right.
Yep.
and he's
Why would anybody else choose to go to UNLV to play quarterback?
They're 3-0.
Mhm.
His representative says, "Hey, where's our money? Hello, we ain't got nothing for you." Okay, I've gotten to my third game. I can still redshirt, and I can still maintain my eligibility.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it is wild. It is absolutely wild that this is where we are in collegiate athletics.
It,
And huh?
you're not wrong. It is wild that this is where we are. And I don't know if you would agree, but it feels wrong. However, in this world, you can't lie to these kids no more. Like,
That's
Oh,
what
man.
listen. The
you gotta
one
stop lying.
look, if we go back, I think I've said this a couple times, but every day something else happens that just drives this point home. The original offer that the kids asked for was for every single student athlete to get $3,000 and like $600 or $33,000 like $700.
Yeah.
And where we're at now is every Division I athletic department has to pay at least 3 sports and probably as many as 5, $22 million.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right? Like man, you talk about overplaying your hand.
Yep.
Like and the thing is the NCAA keeps trying to placate these kids by giving them anything other than money, but they don't understand every decision they make is costing them more money. Right? Why can this kid do this? Because they changed the rule to make it so that a kid can play 3 games in NCAA football and
Yep.
then still redshirt.
So
And B,
yep.
they have instituted pretty much the free pass for a 6th year,
Yep.
and they're talking about making scholarships 5 years.
Right.
Right. So because think about it, this kid's a 5th year.
Yep.
In just 2 years ago, this kid he was stuck.
Yes.
They lied to you. They got you there. What you gonna do? Not play? Now you know what he says? Yes, that's exactly what I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
So it's just funny because the adults in the rooms keep thinking they know better than these dumb kids. And they don't understand. A, these kids ain't dumb, and B, these kids all have representation of some level.
Do you
There
know
are
what I
adults
just
on the kids'
realized?
sides.
What's
Do
that?
you know what I just realized? A piece of this new legislation, not the current one that just got passed, they have to keep him on scholarship. They cannot
Exactly.
renege
That
the
is
scholarship
100%.
That's right.
because he still has eligibility.
Yep.
Yep.
They don't have to give him his 100K, but they're gonna give him the scholarship money.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So another piece of this, I mean, and stuff is just trickling out. So apparently the head coach at UNLV had a policy where everybody gets the same NIL. He didn't want any
Socialism.
player
Inequities.
to feel like anybody was one-upping them or anything like that.
Which in that conference actually makes sense as a stance.
Yeah.
But then you can't offer a quarterback $100,000 to come there, though.
Yeah. and whether, I mean, and it couldn't come from him, theoretically. That's a violation.
Right.
So whatever collective it was that said, hey, yeah, this is what we'll do for you. I mean, now what is that going to do for recruiting? What is that going to do for things going forward? I mean,
Listen, it's a bad look all around. It is what it is. There, I again, that sounds good. I understand the spirit of what you're trying to do there, but it's America, it's capitalism. NIL is runaway capitalism.
yeah,
There's no universe where you're gonna tell me I'm the QB and my deal is the same as whoever, the strong safety. No, it's not. The market says it's not. I ain't with it. And we don't have to like that world, but that is the world that we're living in now.
Think about the era that we've been through. Think about the time when we could not give peanut butter with a bagel.
Yes.
You probably still can, to be
That
technical.
was a meal. Like, I remember vividly being at Mizzou, and, you know, the food we would leave out, like, right outside, you know, for snacks or whatever. And, you know, we got all these bagels in plastic, you know, Ziploc bags, and there's no condiments. None. You got to go find that because he didn't get it from us. I mean, it's wild. And then little by little, Ed O'Bannon says, nope, this is not going to work. And then the national championship, the basketball game, the Michigan State basketball player,
Shabazz Napier,
saying,
I was hungry.
I was hungry. Oh my gosh! Like, I'm telling you, man.
So we can't discuss college football without me throwing this very timely question to the crowd. And yes, Chewy, that includes you. It's way too early to make playoff predictions, especially when we're talking about 12. So I won't ask that. I'll ask one simple question. Contenders or pretenders? Real or frauds? Texas.
I mean, obvious contenders.
I think you have
Definitely
to say
contender.
contenders.
Definitely.
Especially with 12, obvious contenders.
Oh,
Yeah.
no doubt they're going to make the playoff.
Yes.
But once in it,
see, this is why I like the playoff, though, because if we're going to be honest, all 12 teams have a shot.
Yep.
Like, this is different. This is not bowl games. This is different.
right?
This is not a,
Right. And if I
thing.
remember correctly, 5, 6, 7, and 8 host the first round.
Well, the first, if I remember correctly, the first 2 rounds are home games. 5, 6, 7, and 8 host 9, 10, 11, and 12, and then the winners go play at 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yes.
So those games
buy in a home game. Buy in a home
game. Those games are all they're going to be strange and utter shenanigans that go on and all that. So just continue, because I know you got a list. So I'm going to say contenders for sure.
Oh no, it was just about Texas, because, you know, for the first time like ever, they're number 1 in the nation.
Right.
I don't buy the number 1 in the nation for a minute. I don't buy it at all. But
well, so here's the thing. I know you're not a huge Sarkisian fan, and Texas has done less with more than anybody in the country. I get all that, but I do it the other way.
No, A&M wins that battle.
this is true.
No, A&M wins that now. Historically, like if you go the last 100 years of college football, Texas spent way more money on football than A&M. A&M spending more money than anybody now.
That's true.
But historically, they like as a program, Texas has done less with more than anybody.
Yes.
So here's the question though, right? Given all the things that we've just talked about, like I'm not even sure who you would offer up as everybody else you might offer up as one over Texas has flaws.
Yeah.
Again, it's college football. You know my stance. I ain't ranking nothing after week 3. I think it is completely disingenuous and utterly ridiculous, especially now that there's a playoff, that there's 100%. Rankings at all. There should be no rankings until
there have to be rankings so the
machine can set the table. Yes,
exactly.
I understand.
Yes.
I know.
Well, also, but let's be. It's not. It's even less nefarious than that, right? It's to be able to sell each game. So this weekend, look, we already know it's a big deal that Georgia is playing Alabama, right?
Yes.
But isn't it a bigger deal that 2's playing 4?
Yeah.
Not to rational humans, but I understand.
Okay, 98% of college football fans are not rational.
Not rational people at all. I understand.
Like I said this the first week. Was it LSU played USC, right?
Yes.
There's no earthly reason to have to watch that game in week 1, except for the fact that we've all been sold brands.
Yes.
So LSU playing USC on the road, you have to watch.
Must see.
The truth is like LSU lost all their best players to the NFL, and USC lost their all-world quarterback, and you're not sure who they are. So there's no real like we have to watch it, but we've all been brainwashed with the branding that all these games now matter. And so since now they matter, we got to put numbers attached to them. Like, look, one of the best.
But LSU was magically a top 10 team that week.
That's why I said, because rankings have to, you got to make it a must see, right? Like, look, one of the best games we're going to see all year was that USC Michigan game.
Yes.
Great game.
That game was a great game.
Yeah.
I have no idea what in the pantheon of college football, what those two teams should really be ranked, and I don't really care. I just know that game was worthwhile watching.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it was great.
So let's just look at this. So Texas has Mississippi State this weekend, right? They got Oklahoma the week after.
Sure.
They got Georgia the week after. They've got Vandy, Florida, Arkansas, Kentucky, and they finish up with A&M Thanksgiving weekend.
Typical soft schedule from the SEC.
So the last 5 games you mentioned are all incredibly winnable.
Yes.
And the next 2 games you mentioned are incredibly losable.
Yep.
One way or another, they'll be in the top 12. Like that's going to happen.
So let's just do simple math. They win this weekend and then do what they're supposed to do in the last 5. They can lose both those 2 games.
That's right.
No, 100%.
That's right.
So for me, the intrigue of it isn't like, you're not going to toil over. And I've said this, when it was 2 only, it was ridiculous. When it was 4 only, it was still ridiculous because there were very legitimate, worth having arguments about who's in and who's out. I don't hear from number 13.
Nope.
Like I just don't care. Like, I'm sorry, Bus.
Like, I'll say 2 things. About this. This is so long overdue because I'm telling you this right now, and I'm sure there are people who are going to at me and yell and scream. Listen, when Kellen Moore was in college, if there was a 12-team playoff, I promise you this: 2 of the 4 years that Kellen Moore was in college, they would have won a national championship.
Oh yeah. The boys.
We didn't have a 12-team playoff, right? And whatever numbers they had to like for the special games, they were always the next number out. Always.
That's right.
But there's a reason that the winningest college football player in history is Kellen Moore, who won 49 football games in 4 years.
Yeah.
Right. So there's that. The other part is the other part is that what I found most interesting after the first 3 weeks is the conference realignment has just simply not worked out the way some of the people who were excited about their new realignment assignments thought it was going to go.
On both sides of both sides of that, 100%.
But what I find most interesting is the most interesting one to me is UCLA. UCLA, in good years or bad years, was always at a certain level of respect in the Pac-10, Pac-12, Pac-8, every iteration, right? UCLA, whether they choose to acknowledge this or not, they have now relegated themselves to Vanderbilt status. UCLA is going to be 14th or worse in that conference for the foreseeable future in football, and it doesn't matter who the coach is. People are taking shots at Deshaun Foster. It doesn't matter. They have too many sports, not enough. Well, they don't even have too many sports. They cut them, but they don't have the budget to compete at the top half of that conference. And so they're never going to have the talent to compete at the top half of that conference. And then you add the travel to it, they are going to get slapped to sleep on a regular basis. Contrary to that, Cal, who have been relegated to bottom
right.
half status in the Pac-12 for sure, for the same reasons I just mentioned, because they're playing in a conference with a lot more winnable games.
Oh, they got action.
They got action. Like Cal is going to be in the top half of the ACC for the foreseeable future. And if I was a young coach willing to take a job that didn't pay me as well as others, but I could be the head coach, I would definitely take the Cal job over the UCLA job. Definitely. Because the ACC is 10 billion% more winnable than the ridiculousness of the Big Ten.
I don't disagree with any of that. I'll go to the next layer. The vast majority thought that the Pac-12's arrival in the Big 12 was going to be a joke. Everybody got problems with Utah. Y'all don't want to see Utah.
Listen, you and I have been touted. We've been talking about this for the last 3 years. When I tell you that if 3 years from now, Utah's home win percentage is going to be the highest in Big 12 history, you watch what I tell you.
They got to come to the mountain. You don't want to come to the mountain. It's not fun.
No.
It's going to be cold in about 30 days.
Who did BYU just slap to sleep at home?
Yeah.
Who was that they just played?
Was it Oklahoma State?
Was it Oklahoma State?
Somebody. Yeah.
They beat the brakes off of them. Listen, the mountain time zone is not something you really want to mess with.
I'm still holding to the Pac-12 arrivals win their new conferences. I still got Oregon in the Big 10. I still got Utah in the 12. I wasn't getting into the ACC, but the ACC is a disaster. So, hey.
Oh, my gosh.
Go Bears.
Dude, I'm going to say this, and I want you to let this trickle over your minds. Florida State barely beat Cal in football.
Yep.
Right.
And when the game was over, Cal had a better record in football than Florida State. In what world?
Well, it's a shame because it's one of my alma maters, right?
Oh, I'm sorry. It's a shame for you.
Yes.
Right.
But the head coach at Florida State is in a very unenviable position because QB play, the person that has been paid God knows how much money, is clearly not who he was or who they think he was, but they can't bench him.
Oh, DJ. No, you can't. You're not benching whatever you pay for DJ. You ain't benching.
DJ, look. Here's the thing. This is why I say I don't feel bad for Florida State at all. You want to know why? Because this isn't even buyer beware. This is a perfect example of what hubris can do for you. You can't look at a kid that's been unsuccessful at 2 other schools and say, oh, he'll be successful here.
Yeah.
Like, that's insane.
Yep.
If he couldn't be successful in peak Clemson, like that was the end of peak Clemson.
Yeah.
If he couldn't be successful there, forget the next stop. But why would you think he could be successful back in the same conference at Florida State? It doesn't even make any sense.
Yeah.
Well, to be fair to DJ, he was very, very good at Oregon State last year.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Don't pick me up, Chuck.
He was not very, very good.
His coach went to Michigan State, which is probably where he should have signed because he's bad.
He was not very, very good. Go back and look at the statistics. He was successful, and a great deal of it is because he could still run the football.
Yes.
He has never been an accurate passer, never has been, never will be.
No, Chuck. Don't pick me up, sir.
I love how we're still respectful. Don't pick me up, sir.
Oh, man. Are you guys done with college football?
No, Chuck, no.
Sure.
Don't pick
I'm just kidding.
I thought we were
I'm just kidding.
going to pick who's going to win.
It's mine.
It's way too early. So who's going to win?
Way too early. Who's going to win the Natty?
This is mine. Stop.
I don't
Joey,
even
then-
know.
Oregon or Utah? Way too early.
I'm gonna say Georgia because I think they have fewer pressure games now than they did last year.
I don't even have a response, literally.
You.
What say you,
Literally.
Governor?
Who's gonna win overall, the Natty?
Yeah, who's going to win? This is your way too early pick to win the Natty.
I'll take Texas.
I'm taking Texas. They're gonna.
I mean, it's not like it's a terrible pick.
No.
You know who ain't gonna win? You know who ain't gonna make the playoff?
Oh Lord.
Florida or Florida State?
Colorado.
Oh.
We'll see. We'll see. I will say this, and then we can definitely move on. I am almost ready to admit that my belief in Dion as a player and a human may have clouded my judgment on him as a leader of men for an entire football program.
Yeah,
because I'll say this, I'm not sure that his ability to coach is more in question for me than his ability to hire. Like I keep saying, how can one of the three best defensive players in the history of professional football not have a defense that can stop a nosebleed?
Mm.
Like that's the part that is a dilemma for me. And I also don't get how the same person can have their son be the most valuable player in college football, running for his life every week.
Yeah.
So again, I'm not there yet, but I'm almost there. I said that I'm almost there. Look, I reserve the right to hold on this bandwagon for another week or two. If I see any sort of growth in the offensive line, I see any sort of growth in the defense, then I will stand pat and say that we have stemmed the tide and we're now moving in the right direction. My concern is their defense and their O-line look the same as the first game of last year when they beat TCU.
Mm-hmm.
Because the score was a great deal of deodorant over the fact that their offensive line was terrible in that game and their defense was equally terrible.
Yep.
It's a horrible
So,
game.
what we got? Yes, it was
What's
not
the
a
next
great.
shoe?
So, kind of going back to track to wrap up the show tonight. Reflecting back, we've asked a question similar to this, but this is different in a different fashion. To say it correctly, who inspired and or influenced you most to be a coach and why?
I'll go first.
For the record, you mean originally or currently?
Originally.
I was going to say the way it's worded, I'd say original.
So I'd say probably about 4 years before I retired. You know, the signs were there that, okay, the body's starting to talk to me a bit. Training is now starting to supersede competing. I'm starting to appreciate preparing for big meets and not necessarily being on the circuit for weeks and weeks at a time. And so I'm spending more time with Coach Paff, and then I start noticing things. And then I start, okay, so why'd you do that? Huh, okay. And the next thing you know, I'm standing right behind him and I'm listening to him talk. And then younger athletes are now gravitating towards me and asking me questions. And every now and then, Coach Paff pulls me aside and he's like, hey, man, you know, you don't have much time left. You really have to, focus on yourself. Your time is limited. And I know you enjoy giving, advice to the young'uns and all of that. But, you need to be selfish. You need to remain selfish. And you know, there were basic moments, there were little moments here and there where I kind of realized that my destiny was already set. My path forward was already set. You know, I'll never forget. I'm at. This is when I was actually at training with him in Austin, and we're talking. We just finished up a session, and the women's tennis team at Texas is doing stadiums, and we're just standing there watching them. And there's one particular young lady, and her leg is like flicking out, like just flicking out, flicking out. And we're in mid conversation. I turn to Coach Paff and I'm like, "Psoas, right?" He goes, "Yep, psoas." Okay. And we just continued on with our conversation, and little things like that, you know, and I still find myself, you know, with those idiosyncrasies, the little, you know, things that he would bring to the table. And I mean, I appreciate what he was able to teach me to this day. And for as long as I'm coaching, I mean, I will always appreciate the time spent with Coach Paff.
That's awesome.
We got you.
I couldn't pinpoint a person, but definitely the group that I first coached in track and field. So it's the 2009-2010 Hayward High School track team. Like they really showed me what it was like to be a coach, because I could have told them anything and they would have done it, and they would have done it at 110%. And so like they just showed me what impact I had on them socially as well as athletically. And they just really influenced me to get better, to actually know what I was talking about, and to teach them. And, you know, to hear them still draw back on those experiences, like that's all the motivation and influence I needed to know to keep going. So ultimately the person responsible is Christy Prasad, but the group responsible is the Hayward High track team.
I'll go because I think my answer will probably not be one that's foreseen. I think the person who inspired me to want to be a great track coach was actually somebody that never coached me, but somebody I was proximal to and watched them do their craft. And then I sat down and had a conversation with this gentleman once, and I found out something that blew my mind, which was that he didn't ever do track. He played golf, which also explained why in his little book that he always has, if you ever look in there, it's like super duper small writing. It's from years of pencil putting in scores in little boxes. But my original like inspiration to like want to go after this as a craft and to dive into the science and the artistry of it, and like to be considered amongst great track coaches, as opposed to just take what I learned as an athlete and then, you know, go teach that and therefore be a coach. But the person who inspired me to like want to like start at zero, like have people grade my work, accept that I got Fs when I started, all those things, is Cliff Revelto. And I know he doesn't watch the show, but if anybody ever shows him, I'm sure he will be flabbergasted to find that out. But I mean, no disrespect and in all deference to anybody else that has ever inspired me or that I've ever known in the sport of track and field, but I think Cliff Revelto is the smartest track coach I've ever met. And I definitely know that in ones that I've had personal interactions with, he's definitely the most thorough. And has definitely done more with fewer super freaks, probably than anybody that has achieved success at his level. Like Eric Kennard is one of the most ridiculously talented human beings to ever be a high jumper. But there's a whole lot of dudes that he has coached that jumped over 225 that were nowhere near that talented.
Mm-hmm.
And a couple 230 guys that were, we'll say, not quite 230 talented either.
Cool. Clyde, your
Mine are simple and in a different type of motivating way. I literally never considered being a coach or working as a coach until maybe like a 30-day decision of, you should probably try that. And it was born out of desperation and necessity. But when I decided, like, you know what? Okay, this is something I'm gonna try to do. The person who was my inspiration and the person I wanted to model my purpose behind was Alonzo Carter, my youth, whatever you want to call it, club coach, whose primary job is he's a football coach. He's currently an associate head coach at the University of Arizona.
The real Coach Carter.
Real Coach Carter. And, Zoe at that time in the world was still, in the high school space and changing kids' lives through sport and education. And, my attitude was, if I'm going to do this, that's the model of a human being that I want to follow. And that's what I want to do for young people. And then on the opposite end of that, my collegiate experiences were who I didn't want to be at all. Like once I got into the collegiate space, I was like, if I'm going to go down this path, I want to create scenarios where kids leave, my programs feeling differently than I felt when I left my collegiate programs. And so if motivation is the word, motivation, you can have inspirational motivation on both sides, right? Positive and negative. And it's not necessarily about, sometimes it's about one individual, like it was for me with Coach Carter, or sometimes it's more of a feeling of how my time was spent and what I got out of it on the other end, right? So those were always my motivations, and something that I'm still trying to perfect, but I think I'm doing a decent job of it at least. So things seem to be going well.
That's cool. I think it's great timing of that question as we start to ramp up into the more technical stuff and back into the coaching, just the general coaching of seasons.
Indeed.
Wrapping up the show, we've got quick coaching carousel announcements.
Is that thing still spinning?
It is. Man.
Well, what is going on? I ain't gonna lie, I've been out the loop on that for a minute.
Ferguson at Stanford.
Yes.
Yes.
That's
Wait.
one I was.
Okay, see? So Stanford made a hire.
Yes.
Yes.
Another jump.
Erica.
Yeah.
Ferguson.
Oh, okay, never mind. Yes.
Yes.
Welcome to the West Coast, Miss Erica. I'm
Yes.
thinking the sprint position, which I absolutely did not realize was filled, but it isn't. Okay.
Yeah,
So
that still is
Stanford
not.
got one off and they got one to go.
Yes.
Correct.
Got it.
Congratulations to Trent heading up to Nebraska.
Yes.
Milton going to USC.
Yes.
That might be the sleeper biggest announcement of the cycle, for the record.
Yes.
Yep.
Which one is this?
Milton Mallard.
To USC.
Oh, yeah.
That's a big deal.
Did we say it on the show that
I don't
Aries
remember if we got
Texas
that
State
one
now?
off or not, but if we did, it deserves a second round.
Well, no, that Aries Merritt landed at
Aries
Texas
married
State.
to Texas State.
Yep, that's right.
Yep.
That Lennox Graham is now the associate head.
Who?
Lennox Graham
Promoted at Clemson.
Okay.
promoted, yes.
But well deserved. In the promotion well deserved space, We don't have graphics done yet, but better to break news on LLC. TJ Harris has been promoted to associate head coach of track and field for San Jose.
Oh,
Fantastic.
that's awesome. That's
Fantastic.
awesome.
Well deserved, my guy.
That's good. That's good.
I'm sure there are more, but my mind is drawing the blanks.
Well, I mean, I was obviously being facetious. There's a lot of jobs open, and half the
Yeah.
ones just named created new ones open. So
Yeah.
once again, we'll be filling positions through December, I imagine.
Yeah.
Who-
There's some stuff
That's what
going
we
on.
should do. We should do like a small pool of what will be the last job filled for this season. Oh, we
Well-
are not afraid to hire people in January.
I was gonna say it's not January, so you can't really make that call yet. So, but well, if we missed you, it's not intentional. But nonetheless, another episode, another week wrapped up on the Athletics LLC show. Other than that, have a great one. Have fun recruiting this weekend. And other than that, we'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.
Register to vote.
Register to vote too. Yes.
And then go vote.
And then go vote. Bye, Felicia.